Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or as we like to say here at Shady Acres Woodshop, howdy. Today we have a treat. This is Russian olive. This comes to us from viewer Crystal in South Dakota. The piece is about 7 inches long, 6 inches wide, and about 3 inches tall. This came from a much larger piece. I cut it into quarters so that I can actually make 4 bowls out of it, although one of them has quite a crack in it, so I might only get 3 bowls. We'll start with this one. You may be able to see I've poked a little hole there in the middle. I'm going to take this over to the drill press. I'm going to cut a clearance hole for my chuck jaws to set against. I'm going to drill a hole here for my woodworm screw, and we'll get it mounted up on the lathe and get to turning. I have the piece mounted up on my woodworm screw with tailstock support. I intend to make this a live edge bowl, but the bark is quite brittle, sometimes flaky like that. But I'm going to try and keep on what I can. I'm not going to coat the whole thing with CA, because that's kind of what it would take. But I am going to try and keep on as much as I can. We'll just have to see how it goes. Not that well, maybe. The best I can do is 600 RPM, mostly due to this right here, which will be the first part to come off, so that's good. Maybe it'll get into balance a little better. I'm going to be using my 5/8 inch standard grind bowl gouge. Mask and face shield on. It looks like we're fully round, so maybe I will start working on the bottom here. Recess or tenon, recess or tenon. I'm thinking recess on this one. It's not that large of a piece, so we'll mark out for that. And I can probably get rid of my tailstock now so that I can work on that recess. And I think I'll get a little smaller tool. 3/8 inch bowl gouge. And I have this recess tool, so I might as well use it. We don't need much, about 1/8 of an inch. And that's what we have. I'll go with a 1/2 inch bowl gouge now to kind of round this up a little more. Wood turns pretty nice. My gouge is a little tiny bit dull though. Well, we're just about done with the outside. I don't know what else I can do there except smooth out my cuts. So let's do that. We'll do some shear scrapes. Can probably pick the speed up some more. Let's see. Oh yeah. There's 1200 RPM. Time for sanding. One of my viewers recently asked, what direction am I turning my sander, which is simply a right angle drill, when I'm sanding? What direction? Forward, backward? Well, it just depends. In this case, I have this very shallow base. Shallow? Proud? Very proud base. Very shallowly proud base. It's not very, it doesn't stick up much from here. Okay, so I don't want to round that over. I want it to be separate. I could have made it a little taller, I guess. But anyway, so when I sand this part of this, I'm going to be sanding so that my drill comes up to it and sands down against it while the lathe is spinning in reverse. You see, so I can come right up to that edge and I can sand down against it rather than this way, which is not as effective. I hope that's clear. It probably isn't. Then when I get to this top edge, when I'm sanding that, then I want my sander going down as this piece comes up. So it's going to be down on this side as the piece comes up against it. Now, to avoid having to change directions, I could just keep my drill going forward as this is going backwards in reverse. I could do that, but when I get over here, I'm not being effective with this edge, so I have to come clear over here to become effective with it. Does that make sense? As this is coming up and this is coming down, it's more aggressive on this side of the sanding pad than it is on this side of the sanding pad, which is basically going the same direction as that. So I will switch to reverse for this so that this edge is coming down as this is coming up. I guess I should do a sanding and finishing video or something. That just seems so boring to me. I want to turn. Okay, so I'm going to get my mask on. You see what I'm going to be doing here. I'm going to work on this part first. So I'm going to switch my drill so it's coming down as this is going up. The lathe will be spinning at about 350 RPM. And I'll show you that as soon as I get my mask on. Now I'm more than halfway, so I'm going to switch to the other direction. My drill's going in reverse and the lathe is going in reverse. And then when I sand right in the middle here, it's going that way. I want to come the opposite way, just like I am. And the same here. So, hope all that's clear. I'm starting at 80 grit. I'm going to work up through 400 grit, and I think we're probably going with sanding sealer and shellac, but I'm not certain. See you in a bit. Okay, let's see what this grain looks like. It's sanded up real nice. Some woods do that. Some woods just sand so nicely and others don't. And this did, and I'm glad. And yes, that is pretty grain. Almost looks like walnut color. Looks like it'll probably take 2 coats of this sanding sealer. This is shellac based sanding sealer. The brand is Zinsser Seal Coat. And then I'll put Zinsser Shellac over that. You don't have to, The good part about the seal coat is you can use any clear finish over it. But I happen to like shellac, so that's what we'll use. Yeah, pretty alright. Okay, so I'll see you back here after I get on 2 coats of this sanding sealer, 2 coats of shellac. So I'll see you back here when it's time to start working on the inside. See you in a bit. I have the piece turned around and mounted up in the recess on my chuck. I've made a mistake. Can you see it? Right here. What I did when I went to the drill press, and I didn't show it to you, I cut this hole for my jaws to have a flat place to set against, and then I drilled the hole for the woodworm screw. Well, there was a big knot sticking out right here, and that would not allow this to get close enough to the chuck so the chuck jaws could set against it. So I just drilled a little bit more, and then I drilled a little bit more, and I didn't see, I think the chuck was in my way or something, I don't know. I didn't see how close I had come out here. So now, I didn't plan to make a wall that thin. It's about 1/4 of an inch, which is, that's typically what I would do, is about a 1/4 inch wall. But on pieces that have an interesting natural edge like this, I like to leave it a little bit thicker so that I can see some of that interesting natural edge. But now I'm going to have to come clear out here, and if I don't go in from here, go in towards the bowl, if I just go straight down, I'm going to run right off the edge over here, and that's no good. So that's a big mistake I made, and I'm not sure how I'm going to fix it. I have an idea, but I don't know if it'll work. I hope so. Otherwise, that's just going to be ugly to have an edge and then a flat spot and then a bowl. So I hope I can fix it. We're going to be turning at 1130 RPM, 5/8 inch bowl gouge, mask and face shield on. I just want to see how close I am to that. Looks like I'm here, so I'm not quite there yet. That might have got it. Almost. Thinner than I wanted, but you know. Okay, boy, that's thin. That's just thin. I think we're going to be okay. Before I go any further, I'm going to scrape this edge before I remove all my center portion, which is a support for this. I don't want that to start wiggling on me. So we'll try this smaller negative rake scraper that I sometimes use. hard to do when you're holding your breath, but it worked. I'm going to get in here and scrape that again. This isn't a very hard wood. I would have guessed it would be. Got about a half an inch. I think we're probably there. Let's do one last check. Yep, 1/4 inch. Time for sanding. I'm going to start the sanding with my Sandoflex 180 grit, and I'm going to sand all of the bark. And if a little bit of that bark comes off, that's okay. I'm not going to try and keep it on there. I have kind of picked at it, and most of it seems to be pretty stable. If there was a big loose piece, I'd glue it down, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So I'll sand that with the Sandoflex. Then I'll switch to my 2-inch disc sander starting at 80 grit because I've got some tear out in here that I just couldn't quite get due to the interrupted cut, you know, the cutting more air than wood, and the chisel just bounces, so I got a little bit of tear out. But like I said earlier, this wood sands pretty nicely, so I kind of think that'll go away. I hope so. And I'll show you how those are going to work as soon as I get my mask on. So that's just a sample. I'll be doing more of that. And then with the lathe spinning forward at 420 RPM. And that doesn't look like that's going to cause any problems. So I'll bring you back here in a little bit when it's time to put some sanding sealer on. See you in a bit. The sanding was a little more difficult than I thought it would be. And there was some tear out. I'm not sure that I got it all. And I'm applying shellac based sanding sealer as I did on the outside. And I've put some in this little can, and I have this little brush. And now I'm just going to brush the bark. And I have to be really careful that I don't run over the outside edge where it's all nicely finished with shellac. So this is going to take some time. And I won't make you watch it all. Because as you can see, it's kind of tedious, isn't it? So this is what I'll be doing for a little bit. And I'll bring you back here when I'm done. See you in a bit. Well, here it is. One Russian olive natural edge bowl in the books. Isn't that pretty? Pretty grain. I love the natural edge. Live edge. Natural edge, live edge. You pick. Anyway, it's pretty, don't you think? And there's the bottom all finished up. Well, I didn't do anything to it. Signed it. But it's just pretty. Thank you, Crystal from South Dakota, for sending this along for all to enjoy. If you like this video, thumbs up please, I'd sure appreciate it. If you're a subscriber, thank you very kindly, I truly appreciate that. If you're not a subscriber, you might consider becoming one. I put out regular videos about once a week and I'd like to keep in touch. An easy way to subscribe is just click my picture you see there near the end of the video. Your comments are always welcome and I read all of them. So for now, this is Phil, Shady Acres Woodshop, signing off.